Where we are going to begin on this next portion of the video is creating the level 1 slab on grade. I've given you very much step-by-step instructions, but I'm going to open my plan and I'm going to go through it with you. In our architecture tab under the build, you see over here we have floor, and we want to go to floor architectural. Within that, we can see that we have a 4-inch concrete slab and we have a 4-inch concrete slab with VCT. We can edit these and we can change these and do whatever we want with them. For instance, if I wanted to use my 4-inch slab and I wanted to put carpet on that, I can do that very easily. If I click on this and I go to edit type, the first thing is that on a building of this size, you're probably going to have more of a 6-inch slab instead of a 4-inch slab. So that's the very first thing that I want to do. So I'm going to hit duplicate, and I'm going to change this to a 6-inch slab, and I want to put carpet on it. I'm going to change this to say carpet. And I'm going to say OK. Now I need to go in here to the structure and modify my structure. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my slab thickness to 6 inches. Then once I do that, I can go in and I can see that the material is concrete and that is the structure. I have my core boundary above and below. Next, what I want to do is I want to add some carpet to this. I click on the one and I do insert, and now I have to go in and modify what I've added. Instead of saying structure here, I want to say finish. And for my material, if I click on the 3 dots, it's going to take me to my material manager. And if I type in carpet and hit enter, you'll see I have a carpet. You probably do not have 2 carpets, you probably only have the one, and it's red. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to say OK. And now you see I have carpet. It's going to make me put in a thickness. So when we put in for carpet, let's put in 1/4 inch. Typically in commercial, they use a carpet that already has a pad attached to it. It's about 1/4 inch. So now we're looking at about 6 1/4 inches overall. The next thing we want to do is say OK, and go ahead and say OK again. And now you see I have my tools here. Now one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that if we're doing carpet that we go all the way out to the perimeter. If, say, between our office area here and our lobby area we're doing 2 different materials, then I would go to the center line of this, because this is our whole slab and our finish. So we don't want to see one finish on top of the other one, and we don't want to have any gaps in our floor. So if I want to show carpet in this entire area, a couple things I gotta look at is I'm going to want to go to the center of this wall here, because I'm going to have a door opening here, and I want it to, typically we break our materials in the center of that. And then I have the same type of situation here. I'm going to pick the midpoint here, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to come up here, and again on this one it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to kind of go in between it. And then the same out here. I want to make sure my floor slab goes all the way over. Now if I had an exterior door, again I would want to go to the midpoint. So here I'm going to go to the midpoint and come down here and come back across. And for right now I'm just going to bring it to here, and I'm going to use my tool here to join those two together. Now I have the magenta line going where I want it to be. I can look here and make sure that I'm centered there. I can look here and make sure I'm centered here, and it all looks good. Now if I click on the check mark, you'll see that just in my regular view I have like a stippling type pattern. If I were to change this to realistic, you'll see I have a nice red carpet. Let's talk about, say, the lobby area. So say I want to do something a little bit different out here. I want it to be a different kind of material. So I can do the same thing. I can come up here to my floor and I can pick this one, since I've already changed that slab, and do edit type and go in and duplicate. I'm going to say with tile, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit the structure. Hit this finish here. I'm going to click in here and see if I can find a tile. I have like an acoustic tile, ceiling tile, some different kinds of tiles. I'm going to go with this tile here. You may have some different ones, but you can always bring in ones later. Don't be concerned about the colors and such right now. Just be concerned that if you're going to do, say, a different tile in your lobby than you do the tile in your bathroom, make sure you have a tile 1 and a tile 2. Then we can come back in at a later time and change that. So I'm going to go with that tile, and I'm going to say OK. And again, my finish is fine. According to the directions, if I'm using a tile, I need to go with 3/8 inch here because it's a little thicker than before. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to have to be a little more careful here with my outlining, because again, I want to go to the midpoint here, and I'm going to go here to the midpoint of my mechanical room, and I'm going to go to the midpoint of my door, and I'm going to go to the midpoint here. I'm going to come back to the midpoint here, and I can always adjust these later if they don't come in exactly where I plan them to be. And I'm going to come here over to here and back up again. Now I need to go do some adjusting, because I can see here I missed the midpoint, so I want to move this over to where it hits my red line for my carpet. So now I have that one where I want it. This one for now is good enough. Here I want to make sure I'm in the midpoint, and it looks like I'm close enough. Now I have this area out here that I want a different tile. So again, I'm going to go ahead and outline this, and I'm going to go from the midpoint to the midpoint, over here to the midpoint. And because this is my elevator, I may have to do some adjusting on the floor when I go to look at my elevator, because I don't want to have a gap there. Now I'm ready to click on my check mark, and it says I have an error. Oh, because I forgot to close this up here, so I'm going to do continue, and I'm going to click on that line and that line. Now I should be good to click on the check mark. And as you see, I have some tile there. Then I could come in and do different floors here. Later, we can come back and change the colors of these, the appearance of these. You can get something online that you would like to have, etc. So now, just to take a look at this floor, I'm going to do a little section through here. And we're going to go in and look at this floor. So now you can see we have floor slab here. It all lines up, even though this is a little bit thicker. That's okay. We want it to line up on the surface. That's what's important. If I change this to fine, and if I change this to realistic, we can see we have concrete with carpet, and over here we have concrete with tile. That is how we're going to do our slab on grade. Next, we will go to the second and the third levels and do the floor finishes for those levels.